Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
Well, hello.
Hi.
Kate, this is going to be the smoothest ride to Hooterville you ever had.
You mean we aren't taking the cannonball?
What took you so long, Kate?
I was finishing up my shopping list.
Kate, we got a schedule to maintain.
Well, so have I. Supper schedule. Which do you want to maintain?
Chicken and dumplings?
And blueberry pie?
Oh, I gotta get this thing fixed. It keeps running fast all the time.
Charlie, you were right. That was a smooth ride. Like sailing on a pink cloud.
Thanks for the kind words, Kate. You figure to get your shopping done by the time we get this pink cloud turned around?
Well, I should say. I can't wait to get aboard.
Hey, look.
It's that Bedloe fellow from the main line of the railroad.
Sure is. And that can mean only one thing. Trouble. Come on. Morning, Mr. Bedloe.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Bradley. Lovely morning, isn't it?
Dandy. What brings you to Hooterville, Mr. Bedloe? Nothing wrong, I hope.
Wrong? What could be wrong? Nothing could be more right.
Mr. Bedloe, I hate to say this. It sounds like you'd thought up another way to scrap the cannonball.
Scrap the cannonball? Why, I wouldn't think of scrapping that lovely little train.
Oh, you really mean that?
Unequivocally, Mrs. Bradley. Oh, I'll admit in the past, I've wanted to derail it, junk it, melt it down for paperweights, get rid of it any way that I could. But not anymore. Those days are completely forgotten.
Sure enough.
In my effort to shut down this branch line, I have suffered humiliation and embarrassment, and my standing as vice president of the C&FW Railroaders has been in jeopardy time and again. But those days are also forgotten.
Well, Mr. Bedloe, that's great news.
It sure is. But getting back to what I asked you a while ago, what brings you to Hooterville?
Oh, well, I'm meeting Mr. Philip Waterhouse here. He's a retired railroad tycoon. His hobby is old trains. He plays with them in his 1,000-acre backyard in California.
He plays with trains? You mean that...
Precisely, Mrs. Bradley. I am selling him the Hooterville Cannonball.
Oh, no, Mr. Bedloe, you can't.
Oh, but I can, Mrs. Bradley. Mr. Waterhouse is going to pay a small fortune for it. Turns out that the Hooterville Cannonball is an 1891 Rogers, the last one of its kind left in the world. And do you know who turned up this little fact?
You know what you are, Mr. Bedloe?
Yes, a heel, a fink, a no-good stinker, a dirty rat. Take your pick.
I think Dirty Rat fits you best.
Mr. Bedloe, the people in this community can't get along without the cannonball. You know that.
That's true, Mrs. Bradley, but this is progress. Something you've held up for years.
Why don't we talk about this over a nice hot meal at my place?
Oh, no, you don't, Mrs. Bradley. You've tricked me for the last time. That train is finished. You're finished. Everybody's finished.
Who is Mr. Bedloe?
Certainly not me.
I'm Bedloe.
I'm Mr. Cassidy, Mr. Waterhouse's secretary.
Oh, how do you do, Mr. Waterhouse? I'm Homer Bedloe.
Mr. Waterhouse says, how do you do?
Well, why are we wasting time? I could be having my breakfast.
Yes, sir. Now, let's see what's on your diet this morning, sir.
Probably nails.
Dried figs, sir.
I don't like that woman's looks. Tell her to get about her business.
Tell her to get about her business.
Tell her to get about her business.
Now, just a minute. In Hooterville, we don't ricochet our conversations off of one another. We take direct aim at the person we're talking to.
Besides, anything that happens to the cannonball happens to be our business.
What are they yammering about? Don't worry about them.
Don't worry about them.
Who's worrying?
Who's worried?
I am.
I think we could save some time if Mr. Waterhouse would sign this purchase order right now.
Mr. Waterhouse does not buy pigs and pokes. He'll sign the order when he's certain that the engine is a genuine 1891 Rogers. And after he's had a trial run to check the condition of the train.
Fine, fine. I'm sure that Mr. Waterhouse will take into consideration that the train is old, and old trains, like old people, are bound to be a little creaky. Oh, no offense intended.
This'll be the one day I got the cannonball running smooth as silk.
Well, Charlie, you gotta make a sow's ear out of a silk train.
Mr. Waterhouse is ready for the trial run.
Smoot, Pratt, we're taking her out on a trial run.
Well, Charlie, I guess you'll be dropping me off at the Shady Rest for the last time.
I reckon so, Kate.
I'll dust off the seat in the coach for you and Mr. Waterhouse.
It's a good thing Mr. Waterhouse has Mr. Bedloe along to point out the features of the cannonball.
Yeah, when it comes to trains, it takes an experienced man like Mr. Bedloe to know the score. Kate, I don't want to see the cannonball sold any more than you do, but my pride's at stake. I got her purring like a kitten.
Well, she better start spitting like a wildcat, or we're gonna start eating like pigeons.
You're right, Kate.
I've got the seat all cleaned off for you, Mr. Waterhouse, all set to get aboard.
Mr. Bedloe, I don't see why you feel it's necessary to come along to point out the features of this train to Mr. Waterhouse.
Features? What features?
Mr. Waterhouse has been a railroad man for 50 years.
51.
I think Mr. Waterhouse is capable of determining the condition of a train without your help.
But now, wait a minute.
Mr. Waterhouse does not need a nursemaid. Now, you wait here till we get back.
I know more about trains than he'll know if he lives to be 100. Must we sit here?
It's the most comfortable seat in the car, sir. The only one I can guarantee the springs won't pop out. What's the matter, Sonny? You lost?
Kate Bradley's responsible for this. Where is she?
On the train.
She is? I'd better get aboard. Mr. Waterhouse, she'll trick you. Wait! Oh, wait a minute! Stop the train! Darn that blasted train! What is that woman doing?
I'm tying myself down for the train ride. You gentlemen better brace yourselves.
I never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life.
You never rode on such a ridiculous train in all your life. Can't say I didn't warn you. This may put a crimp in Charlie's pride, but maybe it'll keep food on the table.
How long are we gonna wait?
You made a suggestion a few miles back that Mr. Waterhouse thought was a good one.
Thank you, sir. I thought it was a good one, too.
You said you would signal the engineer to stop the train so Mr. Waterhouse could see how the brakes worked.
I sure did say that.
Well, what is the matter with that engineer? Is he asleep? Give him the signal again.
He got the signal the first time. The brakes are on now. We skid pretty smooth, don't we? Those brakes will take a hold just like that as soon as we hit the upgrade across the creek.
Are you keeping a list of all these defects?
I certainly am, sir.
Do you hear what I hear?
What is it, Kate?
Listen. I think the cannonball's trying to tell us something.
By golly, Kate, you're right.
Trying to tell you what?
That another one of the wheels is out of whack.
You see, Charlie heard it too. And by some miracle, he's managing to stop the train.
We're lucky she's pulling up lame right at the Shady Rest.
Well, I declare, what a fortunate coincidence. You're such nice gentlemen. I'm sorry you had to get hooked on another one of Mr. Bedloe's sharp deals.
Oh, nobody sharp deals, Mr. Waterhouse. Why, the condition of this train has made him very happy.
Happy?
His greatest joy is in repairing these antique locomotives. And this one is certainly in need of lots of repairs. Mr. Waterhouse will ride the cab back to Hooterville to inspect the engine.
Oh, wait a minute. Charlie wouldn't try to bring her back in the condition she's in. It'd be too dangerous, wouldn't it, Floyd?
Well?
And it'd take 2 or 3 hours to even get her where she could limp back. Isn't that right, Floyd?
Well...
But you're welcome to wait at Shady Rest. It's right up the hill from here.
It is about time for your nap, sir.
That was a close one. I nearly lost him. Now then, you and Charlie sneak off on your run to Pixley and back. I gotta have time to pierce that man's meanness.
You'll need an elephant gun to get through that hide.
I got a hunch about that old saying. There are no bad millionaires, just bad stomachs.
Uncle Joe, get up. The train's in. Looks like Mom brought back a couple of guests. Come on, Uncle Joe.
Just 5 minutes more, Mom. I promise to get to school on time.
Oh, stop kidding, Uncle Joe. We have guests, honest.
Well.
Yeah, well, there we are. Now, we can't exactly make you feel at home, but we can make you comfortable.
Do you expect me to stay in this broken-down shack?
What is that again, mister?
Well, it isn't exactly a palace, but as they say, any port in a storm.
Just a minute, Kate. We ain't so hard up you have to humble yourself.
Uncle Joe, please.
Don't just Uncle Joe please me. I ain't standing by and seeing you insulted by a couple of cheap salesmen with just one itty-bitty sample case between them.
This happens to be an attaché case.
I don't care if you're selling attachés or electric guitars. Just be sure your broken-down partner here keeps a civil tongue in his head.
Tell him to shut up.
Please, gentlemen, if you would just step inside.
Like she says, sir, any port in a storm.
Just a minute, buddy. I ain't heard you apologize to the young lady.
You realize you were talking to Mr. Philip Waterhouse and his secretary?
Kate, after all I've taught you about spotting phonies, who ever heard of a man secretary?
Lots of millionaires have men secretaries.
Sure, millionaire.
Mr. Waterhouse is here to buy the cannonball. It's an antique.
Let me handle it, Kate. I'll get us a good price for the train.
No, we can't sell something we don't own.
Kate, we got a house full of antiques. Millionaires don't just stand around window shopping, they buy.
But we don't want to sell anything. We just want to save the cannonball.
Okay, we'll save that to the last. Mr. Waterridge. That'll mean canceling a lot of reservations. But I can let you have the whole second floor, Mr. Waterridge.
Mr. Waterhouse would like a room where he can take a short nap and wash up.
Your wash is my command. It's a little joke I thought you might enjoy.
Tell him we don't.
We don't.
After you get your 40 winks, I'll show you our stock of antiques.
I hope Mr. Waterhouse has a nice nap.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Come on, Cassidy.
Sir, I thought I would stay down here for a moment and go over these notes.
Well, all right, but hurry.
Yeah, hurry now. Mr. Waterridge hasn't got all day.
Waterhouse!
Why don't you take your notes into the dining room? You won't be disturbed in there.
Oh, thank you. I'll I'll be fine right here.
I'm gonna go set the table, Mom.
You're right. Perhaps I'll have more privacy in the dining room.
Billy!
Yes, Mom?
You're disturbing Mr. Cassidy.
I know, but isn't it exciting? And he acts like a college man.
Betty Jo, you get the fixin' for the chicken and dumplings. We gotta get going fast. And now to get Mr. Cassidy out of the way so I can have a nice long chat with Mr. Waterhouse when he wakes up. Here you are. Now get going.
Hi.
Hi.
Where are you going?
To borrow a cup of sugar from a neighbor.
Could I walk along with you?
Well, I guess it'll be all right.
Hey, where are the girls headed with that male secretary?
To borrow a cup of sugar from one of our neighbors.
Well, our closest neighbor's 5 miles away.
He's gonna find that out.
Hey, Kate, what happened to those price tags we had left over from the rummage sale? I'm gonna make everything look like it's for sale. I'll mark it clearance, 40% off.
Uncle Joe, please settle down and listen to me.
Kate, this is no time for chit-chat. There's a rich man upstairs. Don't you know what it means to be this close to millions of dollars, maybe billions? He's rich. Well, with all the genuine antiques we got around here, he needs us worse than we need him.
Cassidy!
Coming, Mr. Waterrich.
He wants Cassidy.
Who's Cassidy?
His secretary.
I'll go fetch him. Kate, you can't keep millionaires waiting.
Cassidy!
Uncle Joe, please find Mr. Cassidy. Mr. Waterhouse wants him.
Well, he just went.
Please hurry, Uncle Joe. Mr. Waterhouse, the poor old thing, is helpless without his secretary.
Helpless, am I? Well, you can just tell Cassidy that I don't want to be disturbed.
It worked. Now, if I just have time to fix the chicken and dumplings, I'll be able to tame that lion.
I never saw a lion. Your chicken couldn't turn into a lamb.
Lion, chicken, lamb. That's pretty good, Betty Jo.
And I'm only a teenager.
Oh, but believe me, Mr. Travers, nothing can keep this sale from going through. Oh, they're out in a trial run now. When they get back... No, Mr. Travers, there's nobody on the train with them except Kate Bradley. Oh, Mr. Travers, Kate Bradley's no match for Mr. Waterhouse. The only way she can talk to him is through Cassidy. Nothing can happen. Ugh. That's right. Well, goodbye, Mr. Travers. Ooh, better get out there right away.
Where's my secretary, Cassidy?
Oh, he went for a walk, Mr. Waterrich.
House!
Yeah, he went out of the house for a walk.
Well, what am I supposed to do until he gets back?
Well, you like antiques? Why don't you just browse around, see if you can find yourself a few bargains? You know how old this elevator is? 1822, figure it out.
1822. Well, that's remarkable.
Remarkable is hardly the name for it. The word is old, antique.
No, the word is remarkable. 1822.
Yeah, remarkable, ain't it?
Yes, especially since the elevator wasn't invented until 1852.
Which proves my point. Don't sit down there and break into 1,000 pieces. Hey, sure glad I wasn't sitting there when the Indian arrow hit.
Remarkable, ain't it? Who was that?
Oh, that's Phoebe, my minor bird. Sometimes I keep her in the elevator.
Remarkable. I've got to get out of this madhouse. Where's your phone?
Phone? Oh, I get it. You're a sharp trader. You know a bargain when you see one.
What are you talking about?
Now, let's just lay our cards on the table. You want the phone, we'll make you a price.
Hello. Operator. Operator.
Now, let's stop playing games. Now, you know a phone that old wouldn't work. It worked once, though. There was only 5 words spoken into it. Quick, Watson, I need you.
Cassidy. Can't you put a muzzle on that minor bird?
Yeah, gladly, but it'd be muzzling the beak of a 95-year-old minor bird.
Cassidy. Oh. Now, you let me tell you something.
So you're probably wondering about the chipped edges on that tray. Well, you know how it is when careless Indians shake ashes out of their peace pipes.
He hasn't got a chance.
Now I'm going to show you what I really think of your antiques.
Well, of all you break that ashtray. That's my personal property.
It's all right, Kate. Mr. Waterrich was just having a little fun.
Well, he's going to have a little more fun cleaning it up.
What?
You get down and clean up every one of those pieces.
Kate, you can't talk that way to millionaires.
I could talk that way to a spoiled child, and that's what he is.
Now, you listen to me.
Yeah, you better listen to him.
You shut up.
You bet I will.
You think you've been fooling me with your cheap schemes to keep me from buying that train.
You can't fool him, Kate. He's brilliant.
Don't you think I know why you sent Cassidy away? So you could cry on my shoulder with some sad story.
He don't like sad stories. Hey, did you ever hear the...
Shut up!
Listen to me. It's true, I schemed. But I could have staked my life that you had a spark of decency in you, and that maybe somehow I could show you how important that train was to us, while to you it's just another toy. But I guess I was mistaken in my judgment.
You ought to be ashamed. My mother went to a lot of trouble making chicken and dumplings for you, just so you'd listen to her side of the story.
Oh, I get it. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, huh? Why, that's the corniest trick of them all.
You're right. I should have known you didn't have a heart to get through your stomach, too. Well, that doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. Of all the nerve! Oh!
And I'm gonna keep this up until you get Cassidy back here.
No, you're not.
Take it easy, Kate.
Now, you get on
He'll
upstairs
outweigh
and go
at
to
least
your room.
40 pounds.
Get to your room. Hold there until you promise to act like a grown-up.
Give it to him, Mom.
Now, I'm gonna lock you up there till you promise to behave.
Who is it?
It's me, Kate Bradley.
Well, open that door and make it snappy. So, you finally decided it was safer to let me out, huh?
The only thing I decided was that even a cranky, crotchety old man can get hungry. Eat.
I wouldn't eat your cooking if I was starving.
Now, you eat everything on that plate to the last morsel, or so help me. I'm gonna turn you over my knee and spank the daylights out of you. And don't think I can't do it.
Well, you want to stand there and watch me?
I don't think that'll be necessary.
When you're finished eating, you'll find the price of the plate marked on the bottom.
I should have known you'd be able to handle it, but it could have saved me a 25-mile hike from Hooterville.
Tell him to shut up. I'm thinking.
Shut up, he's thinking.
I heard.
Does this mean we'll have to move?
We'll talk about it later, honey.
You know I'm a good mind to give him back that $50 he gave me for that stuff he broke.
Uncle Joe, did you take money from him?
If Mr. Waterhouse will sign these papers, we can all go back on his train.
Mr. Waterhouse examined the train thoroughly. The engine is an 1891 Rogers.
Yes, authentic in every detail.
Mr. Waterhouse is looking for an 1890 Porter.
What? But you both...
And tell that scoundrel Bedlow I may have him arrested for fraud.
Good idea, sir.
But Mr. Waterhouse, Mr.
Tell him to shut up.
Shut up.
Well, we better get out of here before he tries to sell me the Brooklyn Bridge. Bye, Mrs. Bradley.
Bye, Mr. Waterhouse.
Tell the others goodbye.
Goodbye.
Did you hear that, Kate? We're still in business.
How do you like that, Bedlow? Trying to skin that nice millionaire.
I gotta learn to have more confidence in my first impressions.
Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
Uncle Joe. Betty says one of the salesmen left. Did he settle up his bill?
Yeah, I took care of it.
Well, I'm sure glad somebody checked out. Business has been terrible lately.
Well, losing guests don't improve it any.
Oh, I know, but it gives us some cash to feed the ones we have left. Where is it?
This here feller didn't pay me in cash.
Oh, well, I'm sure his check's good.
Yeah, of course it is. He didn't give me a check either.
Oh, no, Uncle Joe, not again.
What do you mean?
You let him pay you off in useless sample merchandise, didn't you?
I did no such thing.
Oh, thank goodness. For a minute, you gave me quite a turn.
There ain't nothing useless about this sample merchandise.
You just spun me the whole way around.
Wait till I show you what I wangled out of that salesman. Hey, this is the best deal yet.
Better than the 6 dozen hula hoops you wangled out of the last one? They're still cluttering up the attic.
4 dozen. You forgot the batch I traded to Hank Folsom.
Oh, yes. For a gross of button hooks, wasn't it?
And 2 pogo sticks. Someday they'll be worth good money.
Oh, sure. If people start whirling and jumping in high button shoes, we'll be rich.
I bet you Hank's still kicking himself for that one. Kate, how would you like a beautiful painting to hang back of the desk?
We got a painting hanging there.
But this one's permanent. You don't throw it away every year after you tear out December.
Is that what the salesman gave you? A painting?
Not exactly, but about as near to it as you can get.
If that's the nearest thing to a painting, you have a very poor sense of distance.
Maybe I better explain it to you. You notice the picture is divided into all these little sections with numbers in them? Well, everywhere there's a number, you put a different color. And you know what you get?
Different colored numbers?
Got no sense of imagination. Now, here's the picture after I get finished painting it.
Uncle Joe, the $10 that salesman owed us was our grocery money. How could you take a painting instead?
Not just this one, Kate. He gave me 6 others. Here, if you don't like the sailing boat, how about a pedigreed setter? Or here's General Custer I got from him on a horse.
You should have gotten Alexander Hamilton.
What's so special about Alexander Hamilton?
His picture's on a $10 bill.
It's number 13 green. Who is it?
It's nearly dinner time, Uncle Joe. Mom asked me to see if you were ready.
Pretty soon, Betty Jo. I'm just putting the finishing touches on my painting. Here, hold this up first, pal. I want to make sure I got it right.
Is this what you're painting? It's mighty pretty.
Wait till you see how I done it. There, finished. What do you think of it?
Wow.
Of course, I can't take all the credit. I just copied it from the model.
What's the ship doing on top of a mountain?
Well, that's not a mountain. That's a wave.
A brown wave?
You noticed that, huh? I guess I slipped up on that when I got the numbers switched. Instead of number 32, I used number 23.
What about the purple sky? On this, it's blue.
I guess I got that number backwards, too.
11?
Those little things don't count. The real great artists sometimes slip up on the details. You'd know that if you'd ever seen a picture of the Venus de Milo. Hey, wait till you see it in this old frame I dug up out of the attic.
Well, where are you gonna hang it?
I figure the best place is over the desk in the lobby.
Isn't that kind of conspicuous?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. First thing folks will see when they come in, it'll hit them right between the eyes.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Joe, you better take this laundry upstairs. The cannonball's in. I gotta get dinner started. And besides, I was...
Well, you could have waited till I had a hold of it. Well, you seen the picture. How's it hit you?
Right between the eyes. It's still there.
Well, ain't you gonna say something?
Soon as I figure out a way to phrase it. Does it have to hang up there? You know, when folks come in here, that's going to be the first thing they see.
Well, that's the idea. Stranger comes through the door, walks over to the desk, trying to make up his mind whether to check in, looks up, sees a picture,
and makes up his mind.
Now you're getting the idea.
Don't you think it'd look nicer hanging next to your wooden Indian?
Oh, but you're always hiding my Indian. I don't even know where he is now.
Down in the cellar, behind the furnace.
Hey, just because you got no appreciation of art, don't mean...
Here's the groceries you asked me to pick up at Sam Drucker's, Kate, and we brung 2 passengers for dinner.
Hey, watch what you're doing, Charlie. Lucky thing I'm carrying in the eggs.
You notice something new, fellas? I done it.
What for?
Well, it gives a place class. Not many hotels got an original oil painting in their lobbies.
Not that original. I reckon it's the first time a ship ever got stuck on top of a mountain.
Well, what about Noah's Ark? Besides, that's not a mountain, it's a wave.
A brown wave?
A purple sky?
Well, you're standing too close. You gotta move back from it to get the full enjoyment.
Well, I know, but the lobby ain't big enough. You ain't gonna leave that thing up there, are you, Kate?
Why ain't you? It looks just fine up there. Besides, it hides a crack in the wall.
What crack?
The one I made when I hung it up.
Personally, I prefer a crack in the wall.
Personally, I don't think the wall's the only thing around here that's cracked. That painting hangs just where it is, and I don't want to argue about it no more.
I declare, sometimes that man's just like a mule.
Worse, a mule could paint 10 times better than that.
The ridiculous idea, stopping a train in the middle of nowhere for dinner.
If it's just for dinner, why do I have to lug this vase with me?
Because it's an expensive antique. I don't want to let it out of my hands.
You mean my hands? This thing's heavy.
Stop complaining, Parks. What do you think I pay you for? Besides, you know about my bad back. Before you come in any further, you better hand me that vase.
What about your bad back?
Never mind my back. Hand me the vase.
Well, it's all right with me, but I don't understand why all of a sudden you want... Now I understand.
You know something, Parks? I think we've just walked into the Twilight Zone.
And we're supposed to have dinner here. Who's hungry?
Wait a minute. I want to get a closer look at this.
Oh, Mr. Cheever, you may have a weak back, but you certainly have a strong stomach.
I'm not talking about the painting. Parks, wouldn't you say this frame is an authentic 19th century Von Getten?
It certainly looks like it. Of course, I'd have to see the marks on the back to be sure. Look, that is authentic. That must be worth at least $200.
Notice the subtle detail.
Magnificent.
Afternoon, gentlemen. See, you're admiring my painting.
You painted this?
Well, I don't like to brag, but I'm the artist.
I wouldn't call that bragging.
He means you have a very special talent.
Special, huh?
I don't believe there's another human being alive who could do something like this. Isn't that right?
Oh, that's the best painting I've ever seen of a ship on top of a mountain.
Would you be willing to sell it?
It's not a mountain. Sell it? For money?
Of course. I'm an art dealer in Nashville, and I'd be very interested in buying this painting, as is. How much do you want for it?
Well, let me see now. There's the paint, the canvas, labor, wear and tear on the brush. $20? 15 with a frame.
Sold.
Sold?
I knew I was dealing with a shrewd trader. It's easy to see you're as good a businessman as you are an artist.
I'm warning you, Kate. You leave that thing hanging up there, there won't be a guest left in the hotel.
Oh, is it really that bad?
You ought to see it.
Billy Joe, that's not a nice thing to say to your sister.
All right, folks, here's your last chance to see this work of art.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, Bobby Joe. It wasn't your fault.
I see you've come to your senses and took that crazy picture down.
Crazy picture, huh? This painting's just been sold for $15. Who's crazy now?
The feller who bought it.
The feller who bought it's an art dealer from Nashville. One of the passengers you brung in on the cannonball.
Uncle Joe, you mean you really sold it?
For $15. I'm on my way to grade it for the man right now.
Well, does he know how you did it? By coloring in the numbers?
He didn't ask me.
Don't you think he should know? He paid $15 for an original painting. Yours is just a copy.
This ain't a copy. The original was a picture of a ship riding on a wave. This here's a picture of a ship stuck on a mountain.
If you don't tell him, I will.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Kate. Don't ruin my career just as I'm getting started. I'll tell you what. Instead of this old frame, we'll give him the one off Grandpa's picture. You know, the one with the carved cupids and the red and green scallop border?
I don't know.
We certainly ought to get his money's worth with that.
Yeah, I suppose so. But just to make sure, I won't charge him for his dinner.
Thank you, Mrs. Bradley, for the lovely dinner. And thank you, Mr. Carson, for the incredible work of art. We better get going. They're calling us.
I'll carry it down the train for you. No extra charge.
As I always say, there's no accounting for taste.
Do you think Uncle Joe is really talented?
Well, Mr. Cheever is an art dealer, and you heard how he kept calling the painting incredible. Well, for all we know, Uncle Joe could be a genius.
Uncle Joe, a genius. That'd be nice. It would keep him occupied in his later years.
You know, it's just possible that Uncle Joe was a primitive.
Bobby Joe.
Mom, I mean it. He shows all the signs of being one.
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe his forehead slants back a bit, but his chin doesn't recede. Either one of them.
Mom, a primitive is what they call artists without any training.
Oh?
Sure. There was a woman called Grandma Moses up in New England who started painting when she was in her 70s. She never studied in her life, but her paintings are in all the famous museums.
Well, that explains it. Uncle Joe must be a primitive.
Still putting me on, eh, Kate?
Oh, no, Uncle Joe, you don't understand. A primitive is what they call a famous artist who hasn't had any training.
What Mom meant is that you could be another Grandma Moses.
Grandma Moses? I ain't even married.
Bobby Joe's talking about an old lady who was a famous artist. And that's the way she signed her paintings, Grandma Moses.
Grandma Moses, huh? And you say she was a great artist?
Her pictures are in all the museums.
Say, that inspires me to another great original idea. From now on, I'll sign all my pictures, Uncle Joe.
Excuse me, dear. Uncle Joe, I hope that this career in painting will make you very, very happy, but I wouldn't bank on it too much.
Well, I am banking on it. It's the first chance in my life I've had a chance to be somebody and be respected by the people around here.
Uncle Joe, I respect you, and so do the girls.
Yeah, but you don't count. No, I mean, well, you know what I mean.
Sure.
You know, it's important for a man to feel that he's accomplished something in life and not just been a drag on his loved ones.
But you haven't been a drag on us. We love and respect you.
Oh, go on, Kate.
But it's true. Oh, I'll admit there have been times when that love and respect have skidded mighty close to irritation, but nobody's more important to us than you.
Thanks, Kate. Knowing you and the girls think that way about me makes me feel great. I want you to be proud of me. That's why I gotta make good. I just got to.
I know, Uncle Joe. I know. Betty, what's all the noise about?
Uncle Joe asked me to finish tacking up his press clippings.
Press clippings?
Sam Drucker ran a big article about Uncle Joe in the Hooterville World Guardian.
But, honey, all that hammering.
You think Sam Drucker prints only one copy of his paper?
No wonder Sam said he doubled his circulation in this issue.
Mom, Betty Joe, guess what happened?
Oh, let me tell it. You go up and tell Uncle Joe.
I thought you were going to tell Uncle Joe.
Oh, that's right. Well, I'll run up and tell Uncle Joe, and you can tell them.
Well, if you want to tell Uncle Joe,
Tell me what?
The director of the art museum in Centerville called up Sam Drucker. He read about Uncle Joe in the newspaper, and he's coming here tomorrow to see him.
What for?
Well, he's thinking of exhibiting all of his paintings in the museum.
No kidding.
The whole town's buzzing about it. Now, this ought to put Shady Rest on the map.
Oh, I wouldn't be too sure of that.
But, Mom, if Uncle Joe gets famous, think of the kind of people that will be coming here.
Man.
I thought of it first now. Now, listen, I need a lot of new clothes, Mother.
Simmer down. In the first place, nothing has happened yet. And in the second place, we...
Well, how do you like that for news? All them Uncle Joes is hanging in a real art museum.
What Uncle Jose's? Aside from the picture you sold Mr. Cheever, you haven't painted a thing.
Yeah. Lucky for me you thought of that, Kate. That's one thing I overlooked. When did you say that museum feller was coming?
Tomorrow.
Well, all I gotta do is knock out 5 more masterpieces before he shows up.
Why only 5?
That's all the canvases I got left. Hey, one of you girls better come along. I'll need you for the pictures.
As a model?
No, I want you to read off the numbers to me.
Number 14, pink.
Number 14, pink.
Number 14, pink.
Number 21, violet.
Number 21, violet.
Number 21, violet.
Careful, Uncle Joe, you're sloshing it over the lines.
Who's the primitive around here, you or me?
You are, Uncle Joe, but this one's beginning to look like a primitive's primitive.
When I paint whole hog. Bring on that museum fella.
Mom, the Cannonball's here with the people for Uncle Joe's art exhibit.
Oh, I sure hope everybody likes the way he paints.
They've already had a sample. Look.
Oh, no, he's painted on another one of my bed sheets. Darn it, anyway. I was hoping Uncle Joe would stick to his canvases and leave my bed sheets alone.
I guess that's the price of art, Mom.
More like the price of a new sheet. Uncle Joe, get ready. Here they come.
Bring 'em on, especially that museum feller. Dandy. Work of art. Exquisite. Oh, Billy, don't be stingy with the punch. We want to make a good impression. And with each program you hand out, Bobby, be sure there's a press clipping attached.
They're here.
What's this?
Program. You know you can't tell the paintings without a program.
You can say that again.
And now let's not block the doorway, folks. Everyone's entitled to a view of the pictures.
General Custer owned his horse. I can see the horse, but where's General Custer?
Well, this one's a pedigreed Irish setter.
I'm E.T. Gibbs from the Centerville Museum.
Well, welcome to the Shady Rest Gallery, Mr. Gibbs.
Howdy.
I guess you're the artist.
Oh, you could tell, huh? Oh, Billy, give Mr. Gibbs some punch. Come right over here and we'll take a look at the pictures. Now, this is a pedigreed Irish setter. this was General Custer before the Indians got to him. I call this one Church with Steeple. I didn't get that last one, Kate. What was it? A or a Huh? Well, what do you think? This one's for cow fanciers.
Mr. Carson, I've seen Impressionism, Expressionism, Cubism, Surrealism. But this is pure sadism. You couldn't even follow the numbers.
Maybe you better have some punch.
Come in.
Uncle Joe, it's wrong of you to stay cooped up here brooding. We need you to run the hotel.
You just have to get along the best you can without me. My mind won't concentrate after being laughed at by all them folks from Hooterville.
You mustn't feel bad, Uncle Joe. You're not the only great artist to be laughed at by the masses.
Were they there, too?
What Betty Joe means is that there were a lot of important painters who weren't appreciated while they were still alive.
Like Rembrandt. He didn't become famous until 100 years after he died.
It may be all right for Rembrandt, but I'd rather be around when it happened.
Uncle Joe, you're just not doing any good grieving just because... The cannonball. And they're signaling they brought someone. I better get on down. You keep talking about those important artists, but stick to the live ones. Mr. Cheever, you're back.
Of course I'm back. Do you think I'd let myself be swindled?
Swindle?
You know very well your uncle outsmarted me.
Oh, I resent that. Uncle Joe never outsmarted anybody in his whole life.
What about this?
You mean the painting?
Not that monstrosity. I'm talking about the frame. I bought an authentic antique Von Getten frame, and your uncle substituted this piece of junk.
You mean it was the frame you were really after?
You don't have to pretend anymore, Mrs. Bradley. I admit $15 was a ridiculous price to pay for a Von Getten, and I see you know its real value. But I still want the frame, and I'll give you $150 for it. Without the picture, $200.
$200 will be fine, Mr. Cheever.
Great. I'll write you out a check.
Just a minute. There are certain conditions.
Kate, I think I'll go back to bed.
I'll buy them.
You mean you like them?
I said I'll buy them. Mr. Carson, I didn't think it was possible, but you did it again.
Well, thank you, Mr. Cheever.
How about $40?
I'll pack them up
No,
for you.
no. Mr. Cheever means $40 apiece.
What are you trying to do, Kate?
Isn't that right, Mr. Cheever?
Naturally.
That's $200.
Well, $200 is a fair price, but on one condition.
Kate.
That you give back Grandpa's frame and take the old one.
Kate.
But there's just one thing.
Uh-oh.
I have a condition.
I think I'm getting one.
This is a unique collection. I mean, these paintings are the only ones of their kind.
That makes them more valuable, huh?
Well, maybe not right now. Maybe not in your lifetime, Mr. Carson. But there's no telling what they might be worth if these are the only ones there are after you're gone.
Like Rembrandt.
Well, the point is, if you keep flooding the market with Uncle Joe's, well, you can see what'll happen to my investment.
I can see what you mean.
That's why you've got to agree not to paint another picture without my permission.
That sounds fair enough to me, Mr. Cheever. You've got my word on it as a man and an artist.
Your word as a man is enough. Now, if I may use the pen in your lobby, I'll write you a check.
Uncle Joe, you're a success. A great artist.
Yeah, a great retired artist. Don't forget I made a deal with that man. Kate here deserved a little credit. If it weren't for her lucky blunder, we wouldn't have got Grandpa's frame back.
$200 for the paintings. And Mr. Cheever said someday they'll even be worth a lot more.
Yeah, that's the only hitch.
What?
I'll always have a feeling that somewhere that fellow'll be out there rooting for me to die.
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction. Step to the left, to the right, then hop with your partner.
That's the Hooterville hop.
3 to the left, to the right, then hop with your partner.
It's the Hooterville hop.
Lots of fun to do, it's a step that's new, just a hop, hop.
Called the Hooterville hop.
Form in a line anyway is fine when you hop, hop.
To the Hooterville hop.
You can dance with 2, 3, or 4 will do when you hop, hop.
To the Hooterville hop.
It's a brand new step full of vim and pep, just a hop, hop.
It's the Hooterville hop.
Hey, Betty Joe, let's hop.
Not now, Paul, please.
Hey, what's with you? This is your favorite dance.
Well, sure, but right now I'm in a hurry to get into Hooterville. What for? Orville Miggs asked me to spend the afternoon with him.
You mean that kid who's always working on his broken-down flivver?
The one with the dirty, grease-covered face and hands?
That silly-looking jerk whose hair grows in every direction?
He's the one.
She's kidding.
I don't think so.
Neither do I.
Better go tell Mom.
Right.
Hey, we want to dance.
So dance.
Shall we? Forget it. You always want to leave.
Mom, guess what?
You'll never believe it.
Don't tell me the boys ate up all those salty, burned cookies you two made.
Besides that.
Betty Joe's in love.
Good. Waste not, want not. But I could have sworn that nobody would have eaten the... What'd you say?
I said Betty Joe's in love.
What was in those cookies? And how many did you eat?
Honest, Mom, you should have seen the sick look on Betty Joe's face.
How many did she eat?
Mom, Betty Joe's in love with Orville Miggs.
Don't say that. Those cookies could make anybody look violently ill.
Mom, we're not kidding. Betty Joe is in love with Orville Miggs, and she's stuck on him, but good.
She just left to spend the afternoon with him, and you should have seen that love-tortured look on her face.
Miggs. What a shame. It couldn't have been those terrible cookies.
Yeah, it's the way we felt.
My baby. My little baby in love. Well, it just seems like yesterday that I held her in my arms, a helpless little pink and white bundle. And I used to rock her and dream of the day when her Prince Charming would ride up on his white horse and sweep her off her feet. And who does it turn out to be? Orville Miggs.
Socket wrench. crescent wrench. Screwdriver. Yeah, that ought to do it.
Oh, Orville, you must be the greatest mechanic since Henry Ford.
Oh, it's not only that, it's just you and I make a great team.
Gee, Orville, do you really think so?
Well, I'll say, you know more about cars than any guy I've ever worked with.
Orville, you say such nice things.
Well, I mean it. I could have never got this car built up without you.
Orville, do you know what?
No, what?
I've never enjoyed working on a hot rod this much in my whole life. Here comes the cannonball. I've got to get on home.
Will I see you tomorrow?
Do you want to?
Oh, sure. You gotta help me tune the carburetor.
Okay. If you need me, I'll be here.
Good.
Goodbye, Orville.
Goodbye.
See you tomorrow, Orville.
Okay.
Goodbye, Orville.
How's the pressure now, Betty Joe?
It's starting to come up.
You hadn't ought to never let it drop that far.
I'm sorry, Charlie. I guess I didn't hook her up far enough after we left town.
Two things an engineer's got to pay attention to. Cows on the track, steam in the boiler.
I'm sorry, Charlie. I won't let it happen again.
Good. You got to be right on your toes when you're running a big, powerful engine like the Cannonball. Betty Joe, aren't you going to blow the whistle?
For what?
For what? For Fred Ziffel. We always blow the whistle for him on the afternoon run. Else how would he know it's time to feed his pigs?
Gosh, Charlie, I forgot we were passing the pig farm.
How could you forget a thing like that with the wind blowing this way?
I guess my nose isn't thinking today either.
It sure isn't. Betty Joe, aren't you going to slow down?
Why?
Why? We're roaring along here about 50 miles an hour approaching Dead Man's Curve.
Oh, golly.
Maybe you better let me take over, huh?
Maybe you're right.
I don't know where your mind's been today, but it ain't been on running this train. Are you feeling all right?
Of course I am, Charlie. What makes you ask a thing like that?
Because you've been running this train like you left your head in Hooterville.
Here you are, Uncle Joe.
Let's turn up greens, Betty Joe. I asked for chicken and dumplings. Betty Joe,
Huh? What's that, Uncle Joe?
the chicken and dumplings, what do you say?
No, thanks. I'm not hungry. If you'll all excuse me, I think I'll go to my room.
Betty Joe's been acting strange today.
I know what the trouble is. I beat her at horseshoes yesterday, and she's probably still brooding about it.
Oh, it's not that at all. Betty Joe's fallen in love.
So that's what's ailing her. Who's the lucky boy?
Orville Miggs.
How's that again? For a second there, I thought you said Orville Miggs.
I did.
Kate, you've got to be kidding. Why, if Orville Miggs was carrying 2 pounds of weenies, a starving dog couldn't fall in love with him.
I think Betty Joe'd have better taste than that. Yes, especially after the example that I've set.
Too numerous to mention. Do you by any chance remember the first boy you ever fell in love with? Don't tax your brain, dear. It was Freddie Flidden.
Oh, yeah, Freddie.
And he used to go around with his pockets full of live bugs.
Ugh.
He thought he was the most romantic boy in the whole world.
Well, I was only a child.
You were exactly the same age as Betty Joe is right now.
Poor Betty Joe.
Mm-hmm. This is a very serious stage in Betty Joe's life, and we're all going to have to help her through it.
I think you're making too much of this, Kate. She'll get over it. She had the whooping croup, and she got over that, didn't she?
Well, for your information, a girl's first love is much more serious than the whooping group. She has to feel she's become a woman by having that love returned. Somehow, we got to make Orville wake up, so he'll pay some attention to Betty Joe.
That's simple. I'll just tell him to pay attention to her, I'll break his neck.
You men, you're all alike. Always want to use a sledgehammer. This is going to take tact and understanding. So you better leave it to us women.
Okay, Kate. But when it comes to Orville Miggs, the sledgehammer idea is a dandy.
Morning, Betty Jo. Where are you off to this lovely morning?
Oh, I just thought I'd go into Hooterville for a while.
Oh, you gonna go by and see Orville?
Probably. I told him I might come by.
Are you planning on wearing those jeans?
Well, sure. What's wrong with them?
Well, they're all covered with spots.
Where?
There and there and there.
Well, if they're that bad, I can go up and put on another pair.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
Why not?
Well, I put all of your jeans in the wash last night.
What am I going to wear?
Did you ever think of wearing a dress?
A dress?
I got a wonderful idea. Why don't you wear that lovely rosebud print? I just happened to have ironed it last night.
Do you think I should?
Yes. Yes, boys like to see girls in a lovely print now and then.
Orville doesn't care about that. All he's interested in is cars.
I wouldn't be too sure of that. Boys change when you least expect it. Especially if you give them a little help.
Okay. I'll wear the dress today.
And why don't you put a nice ribbon in your hair?
All right. Maybe I will.
The screwdriver. Now, Betty Jo, give me the screwdriver.
Orville, I'm not going to hand you anything else until you get your head out of that engine and look at me.
Okay, so I'm looking.
Don't you see anything different about me?
Yeah, you're wearing a dress.
Then you did notice.
Sure I did.
What do you think?
I think you're nuts coming over here wearing a dress to help me fix my carburetor.
Orville Miggs, don't you ever think about anything but that silly old car?
Silly old... That's a fine way to talk about the fastest hot rod in Hooterville.
Oh, who cares about that?
But Betty Jo, you're the one who talked me into putting in a full-race cam.
I know, but there are other things in life besides camshafts and magnetos.
Like what?
Like walks in the moonlight.
Okay. First we'll fix the carburetor, and you can go home and walk in the moonlight.
Orville, a girl doesn't walk in the moonlight by herself. She usually has a boy with her.
Betty Jo, I know what you need. A brother. He can walk in the moonlight with you. Protect you from snakes and
Orville,
lizards.
don't you ever have a romantic thought?
A what?
Romance. Dancing, holding hands.
Hey, what's gotten into you anyway?
Well, whatever it is, sure hasn't got into you. Here, take your old screwdrivers. I'm going home.
Hey, Betty Jo, I need you.
Yes, Orville?
Yeah, you gotta tell me how to connect the pipes.
Well, why don't you just stick them in your ears, step on the starter, and blow your head off?
I don't know what's wrong with her.
Oh, Betty Jo, did you have a good time with Orville? Well, looks like it's going to take more than a print dress to wake up Orville.
I think Betty Jo should read Orville some of my Browning love poems. Some of these would wake up a rock.
That wouldn't work. What Betty Jo ought to do is put on a pair of high heels and learn how to flutter her eyelids.
What Orville needs is somebody to straighten out his thinking.
Wish you'd let me handle this. I'd straighten him out like a crooked nail.
No, you're not going to handle it. Next time Orville comes here, I'm just going to have a nice little talk with him. My, you look handsome today, Orville.
I do?
Do you know at the Hooterville Whist Club last week, the ladies were all saying how nice the two of you looked together.
The two of us?
Mm-hmm. You and Betty Jo.
Oh, gosh, Mrs. Bradley, I think you got this all wrong. Betty Jo and I aren't going together. We're just working on my car together.
Oh, you can't fool me, Orville. When a handsome young man like you gets together with a pretty girl like Betty Jo, the sparks are bound to fly.
Yeah, well, they flew yesterday when she dropped a monkey wrench on my magneto.
Man, you're all alike. Covering your true emotions with a little joke.
But Mrs. Bradley,
After all, you're human. And nobody'd blame you if you want to express your true feelings by giving Betty Jo a little kiss, and even her mother.
Why, Mrs. Bradley, you don't think I'd try and kiss Betty Jo?
That's what I was thinking.
Well, I'd never try a thing like that.
You wouldn't?
Gosh, no. You can trust me, Mrs. Bradley.
Orville, you're, true blue.
Hey, where's Orville?
He took his pie and went home.
Well, how did your talk go?
Billy Joe, I think it's time for Browning, and we better throw in high heels and eyelid fluttering.
And here's another poem, Orville, that Mr. Browning's wife wrote. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach. What do you think of that, Orville?
Just great, Betty Jo. Just great.
You really think so?
Yeah. I bet if we change the depth of the stroke and widen the breadth of the bore and go up in height on the pistons, shoot, we could get 2.5 more miles an hour out of it in a quarter mile.
Why, Betty Jo, you're home awful early.
Did you have a good time reading poetry with Orville?
Well, I guess Browning struck out.
Along with high heels and eyelid fluttering.
That Orville's a chowderhead.
He sure is, but he's Betty Jo's first love, and somehow he's gonna act like it.
Why don't we trap Orville into a romantic setting? Soft lights, music, dancing.
Yeah, maybe send them both on a Mediterranean cruise.
That's a wonderful idea.
It is? Kate, are you
Not
like...
yours, Uncle Joe, Billy's. We can have a nice little dancing party for Betty Jo right here.
Yeah, and Bobby and I could invite Paul and Roger.
That's great. There's only one problem. How are you going to get Orville to come to a dancing party?
Why don't you let me invite him? I can persuade him to come.
Okay, Uncle Joe, but please be tactful.
Don't worry, Kate. You're looking at tactful Joe Carson. Hello, Orville.
Hi.
Nice day, ain't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Don't believe I've ever seen a nicer day. Have you, Floyd?
It's just a peach of a day.
Orville, how'd you like to go dancing?
Now?
No, tonight around 8 o'clock.
With you three?
No, Chowderhead, with Betty Jo.
How'd she get into this?
She's having a party and you've been invited.
You mean go to a dance? And dance?
That's what they usually do at dances.
Gee, I can't tonight, Mr. Carson. I got a lot of work to do in my car.
Can't you get your mind off of this goddamn car for one night?
Joe, you're not being tactful. Son, you've heard about girls, haven't you?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Well, don't you reckon you ought to think about courting?
Yeah, you gotta go out and sow a few wild oats.
Orville, when that music starts and you've got a girl in your arms, you forget about cars forever.
Oh, gee, I wouldn't want to do anything that'd make me forget about cars.
Joe, if you ask me, I think we've been tactful long enough.
You stand around here all day being tactful.
I knew there was only one way to handle it. Orville, you be at Betty Jo's party tonight at 8 o'clock with a necktie on and carrying a present, or you'll be turning that hot rod in for a hearse.
Yeah, but Mr. Carson. What time did you say the party was?
8 o'clock.
Okay, you can tell Betty Jo I'll be there. Boy, the things you have to do to keep a good mechanic.
Step to the left, to the right, then hop with your partner.
That's the Hooterville hop.
3 to the left, to the right, then hop with your partner.
It's the Hooterville hop.
Lots of fun to do. It's a step that's new, just a hop, hop.
Called the Hooterville hop.
form in a line anyway is fine when you hop, hop.
To the Hooterville hop.
You can dance with 2, 3, or 4 will do when you hop, hop.
To the Hooterville hop.
It's a brand new step full of vim and pep, just a hop.
Orville?
hop.
It's the Hooterville hop.
Orville? I do believe this is our dance.
Oh, gee, Betty Joe, I'm just not ready to dance yet. I mean, I am, but my feet aren't. Oh, Betty Joe?
Yes, Orville?
Can I have my picture card back?
Uncle Joe, I think it's wonderful how you got that boy to come here tonight.
Oh, it was easy. I just took your advice, Kate, and charmed him with tact and understanding.
No, I wish somebody could charm him into asking Betty Joe to dance.
Well, I'll handle it.
Well, what are you going to do?
Well, don't worry. I'll be tactful and understanding as usual. Would you like a little advice?
What?
Dance with that girl or you'll never see another sunrise.
Hey, Betty Joe, I got an idea. Let's dance.
Oh, do you really want to?
No, but at the moment, it sure seems like a good idea.
Uncle Joe, how in the world did you do that?
Nothing to it, Kate. You hit that boy with tact and understanding, he melts.
Maybe Orville's beginning to wake up.
My goodness, all these bright lights are certainly making it very warm in here, aren't they?
Oh, they certainly are, aren't they? Why don't you turn a couple of them down, Billy Joe?
I think I will.
What's Billy Joe doing?
She's softening up the lights to make things more romantic. We want Orville to wake up, don't we?
Yeah, but I hope he don't wake up too much.
Oh, Paul, wouldn't you like to kiss me?
Would I?
Okay, go ahead. Oh, Paul, you shouldn't kiss me in front of Betty Joe and Orville.
But, Billy Joe, you said...
Never mind what I said. How would you like to go for a moonlight walk?
I guess so.
Roger! You know you're not supposed to kiss me in front of Betty Joe and Orville.
But, Bobby Joe, you said that...
Never mind what I said. How would you like to go out on the front porch and sit in the swing with me?
I guess so.
There's a lot of kissing going on around here.
Kissing? Why, Orville, I hadn't noticed.
She hadn't noticed. The way women lead men around, every man in the world should be born with a ring in his nose.
Now, Uncle Joe, Betty's just starting to practice her womanly wiles.
Orville, would you like to dance some more?
No, I think we've had enough dancing.
You're right, Orville. I don't want to dance either.
You don't?
No, because when you take me in your arms to dance, it sends shivers all over me.
Gee, what do you suppose could cause that?
It must be because you're so strong and masterful.
Me?
Orville, you don't know what power you have over women.
Gee, in that case, maybe I better go home.
Go home?
Yeah, with all those powers over women, I might be dangerous.
Oh, Orville, you scare me to death. Come on, let's go sit down on the sofa. Now, Orville, don't you try to put your arms around me.
From there, he'd have to be an orangutan.
Don't worry, if Betty Joe's any kind of a woman, she'll get him closer.
Orville, if you try to kiss me, I'll scream.
Why, Betty Joe, I never even thought of kissing you.
You can't fool me, Orville. You've got a devil in your eye.
Well...
That's right, Betty Joe. A little kiss. Betty Joe, I said a little kiss. Betty Joe!
Take it easy, Kate. Just have faith in her womanly wiles.
Is that
What you expect, fireworks?
And to think I spent all this time worrying about it.
Now can we be friends again?
Sure, Orville. Let's shake on it.
Can I give you your present now?
Wrenches. Oh, they're beautiful. We'll get together right after school tomorrow and work on the car.
You're gonna wear your jeans, aren't you?
Naturally.
Oh, thanks, pal.
Well, I guess the crisis is over.
Yeah, this one is.
Wonder who she'll fall in love with next.
Well, whoever it is, he's bound to be an improvement over Orville Miggs. He's pathetic.
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
What do you want written on this poster, Uncle Joe?
What does the regular slogan say?
See Naples and die.
Why see Naples and die when you can come to the Shady Rest and live?
Will you help me, Uncle Joe?
Sure, honey.
What do we put at the bottom of this one, of the Leaning Tower of Pisa?
Why visit a place where a silo can fall down on you? Come to the safe Shady Rest Hotel.
Why are you girls out here when there's a stack of dishes in the kitchen?
Well, they're helping me with my advertising, Kate. Helping me grease the wheels of progress. You see, people spend most of their lives planning to do something, and it takes advertising to make them get up and do it. Advertising gets results.
You could be right. Can I try?
Well, sure, Kate. Being of my flesh and blood, you ought to have a natural bent for advertising. I knew you'd come around to my way of thinking. There for a while, you was about as narrow-minded as an old-maid fishing worm.
Thanks. I sure hope this brings results.
When are you gonna dig that drainage ditch down with the railroad track?
I advertised. How soon do I get results?
Well, now, Kate, I was figuring on getting started at that as soon as my arthritis cleared up.
Uncle Joe, you don't have arthritis.
Petty Joe, when a man's not fixing to do something, one excuse is as good as another.
I never said I wasn't gonna do it.
Well, I guess advertising is just not as persuading as it used to be.
Well, that ain't true. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll get started.
Oh, you going down the tracks and start digging?
No, I'm gonna find somebody I can start persuading. Say, did Charlie and Floyd do through here on their first run?
You're not gonna get Charlie and Floyd to do your work for you. They went on through while you were still asleep. Had to meet Mr. Bedlow in Hooterville.
Don't tell me he's back again.
Yep, and I sure hope he's not gonna stir up more trouble for us and try and close down the cannonball again.
Don't worry, Kate. I can take care of Bedloe. He don't scare me none because he's vice president of the railroad. Them city slickers like him's my meat.
Then that makes me a vegetarian.
Morning, Mr. Bedloe. What kind of a scheme have you got in mind for trying to close us down this time?
One little work. I've got you this time. The defeats and humiliations that I have suffered here in the past will not have been in vain. I'll be able to hold up my head again at the Home Office.
You must figure you got a pretty good angle, Mr. Bedloe.
I have, and it's a beaut. It's called a spot inspection.
You going to inspect the spots on the cannonball, Mr. Bedloe?
For your information, this spot inspection is going to be an examination of your books.
I'll tell you, Mr. Bedloe, what with keeping up steam and looking for loose tires, I don't get much chance to read.
I think I understand what Mr. Bedloe means. Go get the shoebox, Floyd.
Oh, that's different. You should have said that in the first place.
Records down to Home Office indicate that you haven't submitted a profit and loss statement in over 12 years.
That does sound like a Lulu.
Doesn't it, though?
But the profits usually take care of the losses, and it all comes out even. So why send in a report when all it's going to mean is just a lot of extra work for you?
Well, I appreciate your solicitude, but I'll be the judge.
Here you are, Mr. Bedloe.
Oh, well, now we're getting someplace. I wasn't top man in my accounting class for nothing, you know. Now, let me see. August 27th, received from Mr. Phillips 4 gallons of milk for freight charges. All right. What happened to the milk?
We drank it. It was a hot day.
That milk should have been turned over to the CNFW.
Maybe, but it wouldn't have kept.
Well, what about this one? Payment for transportation of Harry Simmons and family. 118 eggs. Where are they?
We needed some new upholstering in the coach, so old Mrs. Brown did the work for 118 eggs.
But she owed some money to Kate Bradley, so she turned over the eggs to her.
Kate Bradley's got the eggs, huh?
No, she was overloaded with eggs, so she gave them to Vernon Sizemore, the plumber.
And since he owed us some money for freight, he gave us the 118 eggs.
All I know is that there are 118 eggs belonging to the CNFW Railroad. And I want to know where they are. Is that clear? 118 eggs.
117. Do you want this one? It's sort of used.
Breakage. 1 egg. I want the other 117 eggs, and I want them now.
I'm afraid we haven't got them for you, Mr. Bedloe.
Well, just where are they?
Lonarka wound up with 24 of them for helping us fix the boiler.
All right, now let me see. That leaves 93. Also, you owe 16 ears of corn and 5 pumpkins. Now, these things must be accounted for. Where are they?
Well, 93 of the eggs hatched into chickens.
And they ate the corn.
We used the pumpkins to decorate the train on Halloween.
All right, where are my 93 chickens?
I'm afraid they flew the coop, so to speak.
Uh-huh. Then that puts you in nothing but trouble, so to speak. This is precisely the sort of thing I knew I'd uncover. I'm reporting this gross infraction of company rules and regulations immediately. Operator, I want to put in a long-distance call to the Home Office of the CNFW Railroad.
And I recommend that the CNFW Railroad purchase 17 general-purpose diesel-electric locomotives at a total investment of $3 million. This will increase our annual net income a minimum of $250,000.
Mr. Curtis's office. Mr. Bedloe calling from Hooterville.
What? Bedloe? You're not supposed to be in Hooterville bothering those people.
But, Chief, it's my day off. I've uncovered some fraudulent action in connection with the Hooterville Cannonball.
Simon, you better make that 20 locomotives. And a total of $3,540,000. Increasing our total net income to approximately $300,000.
Yes, sir.
Go on, Bedloe. What's that? Underhanded skullduggery. They owe us 93. What? Chicken? And they ate up our corn? Pumpkins? Bedloe, are you out of your two-bit tabulating mind? Forget about it. And if you come up with any more ideas as to how to close down that line, you'll slip farther down on the list of vice presidents.
How'd everything go, Mr. Bedloe?
Oh, shut up.
I reckon things didn't go too well, Floyd.
Appears that way, don't it?
Mark my words, I'll get that train yet. I have to tear up every foot of track with my bare hands. I'll get that mechanical nightmare going. I'm going to ride it until I find a way to wreck it.
Right, glad to have you aboard, Mr. Bedloe.
Yes, sir. Now that'll be 35 cents cash or 6 eggs.
I don't blame you for being sore about the railroad losing money, but if you'd come to me, you could be making money.
Oh, and just how would that be possible?
By getting one of my advertising schemes to working for you. Like this one, for instance.
Big silver strike. Dig your way to health and wealth at the Shady Rest Hotel. That's an advertising scheme?
You're danged right. It'll pay off, too. Kate wanted a drainage ditch dug alongside the tracks. I'm getting it done by advertising for people to come out and mine for silver.
Who'd believe a fairy tale like that?
Well, lots of people. There once was a big silver strike in these parts. There's silver running all up and down these tracks, but not enough to make it real profitable. But a person could come out here and do a little mining, pay for a weekend, get in a lot of good exercise at the same time.
Wonderful. I can just see everybody in these parts tearing up the tracks, destroying them. It'll be beautiful. Mr. Carson, you're a genius.
Always nice to be reminded.
You may be remembered as one of history's great railroad promoters. I'm putting in with you. I like your style.
You know something, Homer? You're all right.
Joe, I got a confession to make to you. Among my intimates, I'm often referred to as big-hearted Bedloe. Yes, sir, Joe, old boy. You're just the man I've been looking for.
I'm glad you like my advertising scheme, Homer.
Like it? I love it. Just think of those people digging a ditch all the way from Pixley to Shady Rest.
But, Homer, I don't see where we need one that long.
Well, we want them digging it all the way to the hotel, so that when they get tired, they'll stay over, don't we?
Well, sure.
Well, they certainly aren't going to walk home. They'll ride the train home, and the railroad will make some money, too.
Right.
Those posters of yours all over Pixley, I got an idea how I might make some extra money for the railroad by dividing up the right-of-way and selling it off to those happy prospectors. Naturally, there'll be a commission in it for you.
That's darn decent of you, Homer.
Well, the way I see it, you got it coming.
I appreciate it.
You know, Joe, when a man has a chance to build a better mousetrap, only a rat would stand in his way.
And Uncle Joe got off with Mr. Bedloe. They were laughing and joking. I've never seen Mr. Bedloe look so happy.
Mr. Bedloe looks happy? Uh-oh.
Mom, what's the matter?
I haven't had a sinking feeling like this since the last cyclone season.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Bradley. I can't tell you how I've looked forward to returning to the glow of your hospitality and the warmth of your heart. I expect the next few days to be the happiest of my life.
I wish I expected as much.
Give my buddy Homer the best room in the house, Kate.
Thank you, Mrs. Bradley.
He's a fine fella, Kate. Just took a little knowing. Like the book says, each man's his brother's keeper.
Acting so friendly with Bedloe makes me wonder if you don't need a keeper. What were you doing in Pixley with him?
Well, Homer and I just set up a booth, and I put up my posters.
What's Bedloe got to do with you in the booth, and why Pixley?
Well, for one thing, they ain't as used to my advertising schemes in Pixley, like my latest one. Dig your way to health and wealth at the Shady Rest.
Exactly what does that mean?
We let it be known there was a vein of silver running alongside the tracks all the way from Pixley to the Shady Rest.
A vein of silver from Pixley to the Shady Rest?
Yeah, Homer was nice enough to sell the people leases reasonable so they could start digging immediately.
Uncle Joe, do you realize what you've done? People won't just dig beside the track. They'll dig up the track itself. Bedlam won't have to discontinue the railroad. All he'll have to do is have it carted away.
I never thought of that. I was just hoping to put the Shady Rest on the map.
He'll be on the map, all right, as a detour. What are you gonna do?
Two things. Number one, I'm going back to calling Homer Mr. Bedloe. Number two, I'm going to start another rumor.
Another rumor?
Yeah, that the first one was started by an idiot.
Mr. Bedlam, you know there isn't enough silver out there to keep a stick of chewing gum warm.
You know it, Mrs. Bradley, and I know it. But by the time those hicks get through tearing up those tracks, it'll look like Lawrence of Arabia came through here.
Your plan is the most underhanded, most sneaky.
Certainly, I wouldn't have anything to do with it if it wasn't.
But you know how much we need the cannonball.
The C&FW Railroad doesn't, and I am a C&FW man.
You're a lot of other things, too.
Please, Mrs. Bradley, you're not going to be petty and deny me the enjoyment of my moment of victory. I'm not destroying that railroad out there. Your friends are. And why? Avarice, Mrs. Bradley, the poison that destroys men's souls. Not only the tearing up the tracks, they pay me for the privilege. Avarice, Mrs. Bradley, avarice.
But those poor people...
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to get the best night's sleep I've had since I first heard of the Hooterville Cannonball.
At a time like this, I wish I were a man. I'd punch him right in the nose. Maybe I'll punch him anyway.
Kate, you just can't believe what's happened. The railroad between you and Pixley is a mess.
We made the run to Pixley and back, but it was terrible. As the last wheels of the cannonball passed over a rail, it was tore up.
You never saw so many loose ties, just begging to be burned.
Well, did you tell the diggers there wasn't enough silver in the ground to bother with?
Well, I tried, but I could hardly make myself heard over the noise of the shovels.
Well, did you try to buy back the leases they bought from Bedloe?
That idea backfired on us, Kate.
What happened?
They figured if someone wanted to buy the leases from them, it's just possible there might be a rich vein of silver down there.
Just possible there might be a rich vein of silver down there.
Oh, no, not you too, Kate.
Floyd, you just gave me a great idea.
I did?
Yeah. How soon can you get the engine hot?
5 or 10 minutes.
Well, it's got to be hotter than it's ever been before.
You intending to cook something?
A railroad vice president's goose.
Kate, could I ask you something? Seeing my idea's so good, would you mind telling me what it is?
Okay, Mom. I think we're ready. Oh, Mom, I hate to see you part with all your silver.
Forget it. This way I can cut down on my polishing.
When I think of all the lovely food I've stoked down with that fork, I get a lump in my throat.
Don't you worry about it. If we don't keep the cannonball running, we're all going on a starvation diet anyway.
Can we get a little more heat, Charlie?
Any more heat will melt the whole locomotive.
Sort of makes me feel a little like the Lone Ranger.
How's that, Mom?
Hi-Yo Silver to the rescue.
Mom, is Mr. Bedloe up yet?
I heard him whistling in his room a while ago. He should be right down.
And Uncle Joe?
He's still sound asleep. I swear I don't know how he can do it.
Mom, the mining engineer that you sent for just came over the hill from the county road, and he's going to set up his equipment right out front.
Oh, thank heavens he got here.
Yeah, he's cute.
Joe, how can you think of men at a time like this?
It isn't easy. In fact, you know, we're in so much trouble. This morning I had to force myself.
Good morning, Mrs. Bradley. I just peeked out my window and saw all that activity below. It's a beautiful sight. Magnificent morning.
Not for us.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Bradley. You've outsmarted me many times. Be a good loser. After all, it isn't how you play the game, it's how you cheat.
Mom, it's terrible. They've gone berserk.
Who? What? What's the matter?
It's Charlie and Floyd. They've been up all night prospecting.
Oh, no, not them two. This is too much. It's like hitting the jackpot on the first nickel.
Well, they'll be coming up pretty soon to have their ore assayed by the mining engineer.
Mining engineer where?
Out front.
Poor Floyd and Charlie.
I've never seen them look so wild-eyed and act so ruthless and greedy.
Are you a mining engineer?
Yes, I've just come over from the county seat.
May I see your credentials?
Certainly, sir. There you are.
Mm-hmm. Seems perfectly legitimate. Everything's in order. Just have to make sure, sir. Round here, I sometimes don't even trust myself.
That's the first tolerable thing I ever heard you say, Mr. Bedlow.
Charlie and Floyd are coming up the hill. I can't believe what's happened to them.
Oh, I've got to stop them from having their ore assayed and making fools of themselves.
We hit it, Kate. A big strike.
We're rich.
No, boys, no, don't make fools of yourselves.
Step aside, Kate. You're blocking the way of a couple of millionaires.
Here, son, tell us how much we're worth.
Yeah, we want to know if we're multimillionaires or just plain millionaires.
I'm so glad you couldn't stop that, Mrs. Bradley. I wouldn't miss the look of disappointment on that face for anything. Tell me, do you think they might even cry a little?
The sample of silver ore belonging to you was found up near Pixley, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where did you dig?
Right in front of the Shady Rest.
What distance would you say it was between those 2 points?
About 25 miles.
25 miles.
Here it comes. Watch their faces, Mrs. Bradley.
Frankly, I was planning on watching yours.
If the quality of the ore between Shady Rest and Pixley is similar to the samples I have just tested, I'd say there's at least $25 million worth of silver in the ground. Roughly, that's $1 million a mile.
Come on, boys. Be sad. Take it like men. Have a good cry. It'll do you good. And me, too. Never in my whole life have I seen... $25 million? Did you say $25 million?
That's right, sir. There's silver there, all right. I have never tested ore with a bigger yield.
You're kidding.
No, sir. I'd stake my reputation on it.
Mrs. Bradley! Mrs. Bradley, can I appeal to you as a friend?
You don't even appeal to me as a stranger.
Frankly, Mrs. Bradley, I haven't felt well lately, but I'm not the sort of man that goes around doing sneaky, underhanded things.
Not unless you're sure they'll work.
Well, I deserve that, Mrs. Bradley, and more. Shoot if you must, this old gray head.
Mr. Bedlow, you know how much we need the cannonball, and you nearly destroyed it with your sneaky, nasty scheming meanness.
Well, nobody's perfect, Mrs. Bradley, but we're in this thing together.
We are?
Yes, you need the railroad, and I need to get those leases back. Now, you've got to help me, or...
Or what?
Or you're going to see a terrible thing. A middle-aged man crying like a baby.
Will you fix the tracks from the Shady Rest to Pixley?
It'll be a pleasure. The rails will be new and neat and shiny.
Increase the pension for Floyd and Charlie.
Funny, you took the words right out of my mouth.
The coach could use some curtains.
What color?
And Floyd and Charlie need new uniforms.
I noticed that. I'll send over my own tailor.
Okay, fellas, you can stop digging. We've been took. I just drove in from Pixley, and I hiked over the ridge to tell you that I had my ore assayed, and it ain't worth shucks. Well, look who's coming. Joe Carson, the Silver King of Shady Rest.
Hi, fellas. You look all tuckered out.
We are.
Any of you be interested in selling your leases for, say, a $5 profit?
Mr. Bedlow, you keep your end of the bargain, and I promise I'll keep mine.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Bradley. But people around here know you, and they love you and respect you. Lie to them. They'll believe you.
We're rich, Kate. We're dag-nab-dab blasted rich.
But Joe, what are you saying?
I bought up every lease between here and Pixley.
You didn't.
I only had to pay an extra $5 per lease for them. We can buy all them IOUs back out of our millions.
Those are my leases. I'll buy them back right now.
And a pig's eye, Bedlow. Listen to him, Kate. He's off his rocker.
Uncle Joe, sell him the leases.
What's the matter? You falling off yours, too?
Sell him the leases.
There are leases.
Sell them.
Never.
A promise is a promise.
I never made one.
I made one for you. Sold.
They're mine, all mine.
Wasn't that the greatest ride to Pixley on the Cannonball Moth?
And that new track, it's so smooth.
Mm-hmm. Like running your hand over the top of Floyd's head.
How can you be so calm with Bedloe back in town again?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about him, Uncle Joe.
Why, because Nutty Norman's with him?
Mr. Curtis seems to have some strange power over Mr. Bedloe.
You know, I don't understand you, Bedloe. You allocate $2,000 to relay this roadbed. And you were the one who wanted to discontinue the line.
But, Chief, I've explained that. We needed to restore this track so that the Cannonball could haul the silver out for us.
Oh, yes, the silver, yes. Well, get busy. Start digging.
Oh, but, Chief, this is the 23rd hole I've dug, and we've had that ore assayed in New York and Chicago and Hong Kong, and the report's always the same. Nothing.
Dig.
But, Chief...
Dig!
Chief, can I ask you something?
Well, what is it now, Bedloe?
How deep do you want me to go?
Well, is it beginning to feel warm down there yet?
No, sir.
Then keep digging.
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
Hey, girls, I got great news. Just take a gander at this headline.
Talent contest, that's great news.
You're darn tootin' it is. This little old contest is going to be held right smack dab in the Shady Rest lobby a week from tonight.
Oh, my goodness. Simmer down. Let's not get too excited till we hear more of the facts. Like, how come it's being held here? And are we making money or losing money?
Well, it's being held here because I ran into the fella that's putting on the contest. I sold him a bill of goods on using the hotel instead of the town hall.
Yeah, well, that takes care of the how come part. Now, how about the money part?
Kate, we're getting paid off in something even better than money.
What's better than money?
Publicity.
People will be buying meals and renting rooms and spending all kinds of money.
Well, maybe so. Well, we're stuck with it anyway.
Hey, look at this. First prize, $50.
Mom, can I enter the contest? Gee, Mom, I'd like to, too.
Me too.
No, I just don't think it'd be a good idea for you girls to enter that contest.
But why not? We've got some talent, Mom.
Sure you have. How could you be related to me and not be talented?
That would be astonishing, wouldn't it?
All you gotta do when you get out there, just remember you're carrying on the tradition of Joseph P. Carson, the Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Didn't they call George M. Cohan the Yankee Doodle Dandy?
Yeah, him too now and then. Hey, why don't you let the girls have a try at it?
Look, Mr. Show Business, I'm not saying the girls don't have talent. I'm just saying I don't want them in that contest. One of them might win. That means the other two have to lose. And I can't think of a better way to create hard feelings in a family.
But, Mom, we don't care about winning.
Of course not. We just want the fun of being in the contest.
Yeah, Kate, do you want to frustrate him?
Oh, come on, Mom. We wouldn't have a chance of winning anyway.
That's right. Charlie and Floyd are bound to get into the contest. And you know how terrific they are at entertaining, how popular they are with everybody.
That's true. Floyd and Charlie would be hard to beat.
And another one who's a cinch to beat us out is Tad Whipple. Remember how the audience went wild over his singing at the PTA meeting?
Yeah. Tad might run away with it at that.
Hey, what about Mabel Snark?
Oh, she's sure to be in the contest. And she won first prize in yodeling at the county fair last year.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people in that contest hard to beat.
Oh, what do you say, Mom? Let us enter just for the fun of it.
Well, since you're all so anxious and you're not going to try and beat each other out, I guess it'll be all right. And I don't want you getting worked up over it. It's just a little amateur contest, and that's all.
Cross our hearts.
Well, that's good. Now let's get back to work. But by the way, Uncle Joe, what's the big idea of trying to give the girls the impression you were on the stage?
Well, I was at one time.
Driving or riding shotgun?
Passenger. Well, your mom's a nice little woman and she means well, but she doesn't understand that you're grown up. You can handle competition amongst yourselves.
Of course we can. And you know, Mom did treat us like little children, didn't she?
Yes, though we're still little kids who squabble at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, this here's a great chance for you to prove to her that you're mature and can handle victory or defeat.
You're right, Uncle Joe.
Yeah, you bet that $50 first prize I'm right.
You know, Mom could sure use that $50 right now.
Yeah, I just see how proud she'd be if one of you came up and handed her that first prize money. The other two standing off there smiling in gracious defeat.
But, Uncle Joe, even if we did work hard and rehearse and knock our brains out to win, what about Charlie and Floyd and Tad Whipple and Mabel Snark?
Well, I wouldn't worry about them. I got inside information they may not even enter the contest.
No kidding, Uncle Joe. Hey, girls, that means it's wide open. Well, what do you say? Should we really go after that first prize?
With everything we've got. And who knows, maybe one of us will get to go to Chicago and be on TV.
Well, that reminds me, girls. If the winner's underage, he or she gets to take an adult companion to Chicago with them.
Oh, wouldn't Mom love Chicago?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I don't think your mother likes Chicago. You know, eating in strange places, wind blowing her hair all over the place.
Oh, Uncle Joe, come on. She'd have a ball.
Yeah, that's right. After 2 days there, she'd bawl her eyes out. You'd best take somebody along that can manage your career in case you win in the finals. Somebody with a show business background.
That sounds like you, Uncle Joe.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does, don't it? Well, maybe if one of you wins, I'll consider going back with you.
Thanks, Uncle Joe. Mwah. You're great. Come on, kids, let's get started rehearsing.
Oh, that windy city, oh, that windy city, Chicago. Always wanted to see that town.
Well, Joe, just what kind of a favor do you want from Floyd and me?
Favor? What makes you think I want a favor?
Number one, you never rode up in front before. Number two, the first time you ever brung us any food. And number three, you're being uncommon pleasant.
There is a teensy-weensy little favor I'd like to ask.
Floyd, do you want to ask him what it is, or should I make the mistake?
I reckon it's your turn, Charlie. I asked him a board, remember?
Oh, stop your clowning, fellas. I just wanted to ask you not to enter that talent contest. That's all.
Why shouldn't we be in it?
Yeah, we're fixing to win that $50 first prize.
Not if you're friends of Kate's, you won't.
How's that?
Well, Kate's girls are entering the contest, and I'm not sure how she'd take it if one of them didn't win.
You mean Kate don't want us to compete against the girls?
Well, she'd never admit it. I thought it was my duty to tell you. Personally, I don't care who wins the contest.
Well, if Kate don't want us in that contest, we sure enough won't enter, will we?
No, we sure won't.
Here, have another sandwich.
Mom, could you help me make a real fancy costume for my dance number?
Well, I'd be glad to, honey, but I don't have any material.
Oh, I I just happen to have a few hundred yards. Why need a costume for the contest, too?
Why don't they could have time to make costumes for both of you?
Wait a minute. I'm in that contest, too, and I haven't got a thing to wear.
I asked first.
I'm the oldest.
Yeah, but what counts is who needs a coat.
Come on, Mom. Wait a minute, Mom.
Simmer down. There's only one way to settle this. It's all yours.
Oh, good. Hey, wait a minute. I said we're going to do this by age. I'm the oldest.
Here you are, Mom.
Yes, sir, Mrs. Whipple. Yes, sir. Your boy Tad's a sizzling cinch to run away with that contest.
Sure'd please me to see him win. That poor boy works so hard around here, help me with everything. He deserves a chance to show off his singing now and then.
I'm real glad to hear that. For a while there, some of us were worried for fear you weren't going to let him enter. Well, so long, Mrs. Whipple. Tad.
Wait a minute. Why is you afraid I might not let him enter?
Oh, it was nothing. Just some of the folks around here got some silly notions about Tad. Didn't amount to anything. See you later, boy, at the contest.
Hold on. What kind of silly notions?
Well, it's the general opinion around here that Tad's starting to get the swell head. Once he wins this contest and goes on to Chicago, he'll never come back.
Not come back? Why wouldn't he?
Well, everybody knows he'll win the Chicago contest, too. And from there, it's on to Hollywood for your little boy.
Hollywood?
And it's the same old story. Fame, fortune, forgetting your family, your friends.
Well, it didn't cross my mind that...
Once you're out there, it's one Hollywood party after another. No more letter writing, no more phoning, no more nothing.
Oh, my little Tad.
Now, don't carry on, Mrs. Whipple. Maybe you can keep track of him by reading them movie magazines, finding out which Hollywood parties he's been going to.
Tad Whipple?
Yeah, Ma?
You hear me good. You ain't gonna enter that talent contest.
Well, why not?
Because I said so, that's why. And you get rid of that swell head of yours before I take a switch to you.
But how?
Be quiet and get back to milking your cow.
I'd watch him, Mrs. Whipple. That boy has a wild look in his eye.
Surely, said I. Surely that is something at my window lattice. Oh, let my heart be still a moment and this mystery explore. It is the wind. Mother, what are you doing? I'm rehearsing.
That's just what your sisters would like to do, too.
They can have it tonight.
When? Like we got it last night at 11 o'clock? Mom, make her take that spooky record off there, will you?
So you can put that silly dance record of yours on there?
Oh, no, my record's going on next.
Girls.
Yep, I'm sure glad I ran into you like this and got it firsthand that you'd heard about the contest. It wouldn't be much without Mabel Snark.
Oh, thank you. But that $50 first prize is worth yodeling for.
Then I can tell the man who's running the contest that you'll be in it and not in Groverdale that night?
You bet. What's going on at Groverdale?
Well, there's a bachelor's convention. A couple of hundred wealthy playboys getting together at the Groverdale Hotel.
A couple of 100?
Yeah. I'm glad to see you're not like a lot of other single women around here, fixing to make a 600-mile trip just to snag a wealthy husband.
You know, I've never been to Groverdale. Is that all it is, really? Just 600 miles?
Yeah. Now, I'm helping out with lining up the program. Would you like to be spotted before or after the jug-blowing act?
The Groverdale Hotel, you say?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Now, I figure the best spot's before. You see, when you...
Forget it. The best spot's Groverdale.
And you mean you ain't going to be in the contest?
Oh, I'm going to be in the contest, all right. The one in Groverdale.
I wonder which one of the girls be going to Chicago with me.
She's finished, Kate.
That's a fine-looking little stage. You did a good job.
Well, thanks, Kate.
Well, Kate, you must be just plumb wore out working to get ready for this contest.
It's not the work, Charlie. But I've just about reached the end of my rope with those 3 girls of mine.
The girls taking part in a little spirited rivalry. That's what Kate means.
They've been impossible, is what I mean. Now, I'm counting on you 2 boys to be so good tomorrow night that you're going to beat him a country mile.
Why, Kate, we're just playing to accompany the contestants. Didn't Joe tell you?
Kate, the boys must be hungry. Why don't you hop out the kitchen and get them a bite to eat?
Are you saying you're not competing?
Better start hopping, Kate.
But you boys have got to be in the contest.
We thought you didn't want us competing with the girls.
Where in the world did you ever get an idea like that?
Maybe I'll hop out the kitchen.
Hold it, Uncle Joe. With the turn things have taken, I'm beginning to feel your strong hand of navigating.
Kate, your conclusion's jumping again.
Good jumping, I'd say. Oh, Uncle Joe, I know it'd mean a lot to you if one of the girls would win. But removing all competition's no way to do it.
You know a better way?
I know I want my girls to start acting like real sisters again. And not like three cackling hens pecking at the same kernel of corn. Now, you boys have got to promise me to enter the contest.
Well, all right, Kate, if that's the way you want it.
Yes, and I'd be obliged if you'd give me a ride on the cannonball.
Sure thing, Kate. Where are we going?
To talk to the rest of the competition. I want to be sure this is going to be a wide open square deal contest.
Kate, before you go, I want to tell you something.
What?
Don't. Sometimes our idea of honesty and fair play is downright sickening. Thanks, folks, and welcome to the Shady Rest. Now, I've been asked to help out with a master of ceremony and chores by my good friend, Mr. J.P. Anderson from Chicago. Now, the first act on the program is Leota Linkwhip and her musical jugs. Let's give the little lady a great big hand. Next contestant's young Tad Whipple. He's a kind of a singer. Do the best you can, Tad, my boy. That was Tad Whipple, folks. Nice try, Tad. Better luck next time. We're coming to Bobby Joe Bradley, one of the three highlights of the evening. She'll sing a song for you in her own prize-winning style. I give you Miss Bobby Joe Bradley.
I love those three little words. Oh, what I'd give for that wonderful phrase. To hear those three little words. That's all I'd live for the rest of my days. And what I feel in my heart, they tell sincerely. No other words can tell it half so clearly. Three little words, 8 little letters, which simply mean I love you. 1, 2, 3 little words, 8 little letters, which simply mean I love you.
That was Miss Bobby Joe Bradley, folks. There's no question about it. That girl has some real talent. Now we come to a yodeler. Mabel Snark is the name of this contestant. There's always a few people in the audience who enjoy yodeling. So let's give a fine hand to Miss Mabel Snark.
Next, friends, we present the blonde bombshell of the Shady Rest doing her condensed but exciting version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Miss Billy Joe Bradley. Sorry, honey.
What am I going to do now, Uncle Joe? I can't perform without my music and my sound effects.
Kate and Floyd and Charlie can play the music for you. And Floyd's pretty good with sound effects. I'll have him put in a few.
Okay, Uncle Joe, I'll try.
Okay, folks, we have a technical problem. We'll have it fixed in just a second.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping. Suddenly, there came a tapping. 'Tis some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. But it was Floyd, nothing more. Open here I flung the shutters. But it was Floyd, nothing more. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
That was Billy Joe Bradley, folks. A great dramatic actress and a brilliant comedian. And I'm sure we'd all be proud if Billy was to carry our colors to Chicago. Thank you. That was Burson Treadwell and his singing saw. Personally, I like real singing myself. Now it's my pleasure to introduce that gifted and talented other Bradley sister, Miss Betty Jo Bradley. Well, folks, that was the last of the big three. Now we have, oh yeah, a couple of swell guys we'd all like, even if they didn't run the only train between Hooterville and Pixley. Charlie Pratt and Floyd Smoot.
How well do I remember the fire of '58?
We's coming down through the mire.
When along comes Hank just a-going to beat the cars, and he says,
"My gosh, there's the fire."
Well, I runs home and I puts my gumboots on.
She says, "My gal Irene."
How well do I remember the fire of '58?
When we ran with the old machine.
When we ran with the old machine, hot ziggity, when we ran with the old machine. There was Hank and Frankenstein,
Pete and Bill and I.
When we ran with the old machine.
Well, folks, that was the last act of the evening. And even though they ain't as young or pretty or quite as talented as the Bradley sisters, you gotta admit they're pretty good. Now, folks, there'll be a short intermission and then the judging.
Do you think I have a chance to win? Gee, I hope I have a chance.
I've sure got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping that I... Wait a minute. Look at what we're doing. We're all saying I, not we. We're all worried worried about only ourselves.
You know, that isn't like us. Mom was right.
And if one of us wins, it could get worse.
Well, what do you say we all drop out of the contest?
I second that.
I third it.
Well, let's go tell Mom.
Right.
Mom,
We've decided we don't want to be included in the judging.
Oh, but you all did so well. Any one of you could win.
Well, that's just it, Mom. We don't want any one of us to win.
and we don't want any one of us to go to Chicago either.
We figure maybe we'll all get to visit there one of these days together.
Girls,
What?
welcome back to the family.
You girls were just great, all three of you.
Joe, come here.
You're joshing. All three? Now, judging from your applause, the winner is Ted Whipple. Congratulations, Ted. Here's a 50.
Thanks.
Have you got anybody in mind to go to Chicago with you yet, Tad, my boy?
Yeah, my ma.
Send me a postcard, will you?
Now, folks, the Bradley sisters will finish off the evening with their version of the Hooterville Cannonball.
There's a train that runs through this wide valley that is loved by one and all. It's the train that starts way up in Pixley called the Hooterville Cannonball. Well, she makes her run through the dead of winter, through the summer, spring, and fall. Neither cold nor heat nor flood can stop her. She's the Hooterville Cannonball. Whoa!
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.